Hello everyone, so welcome to episode 1 of the with what is it? Magical Shit Show. I forgot who I do apologize. COVID brain, I don't know who I am or what I'm doing. Welcome to episode 1 of the Magical Shit Show with myself, Tamar, the therapist or counsellor, however you want to call it, Claire, the oily witch, and this week we are joined by our friend Phillipa, who is a physio and movement specialist. Hello, welcome, Phillipa. How are you?
I'm good. I'm all good. And I'm sorry to hear you've got COVID or had it or whatever.
Ugh, tail end of it. I'm so bored. I'm so bored of it
Yeah.
at work. It's driving me crazy. So we astronomically, there's an awful lot going on this month. Generally, Claire, you're going to help us set the scene. We've got a Friday the 13th today, a new moon, and something eclipse tomorrow. Tell us what's going on. What are the
That's the
energies?
tail. Sure, thanks, Tamar. So yes, Friday the 13th today, ladies. So heavenly female day here, divine feminine. 13 is a feminine number. Having her fall on Friday, which is ruled by Venus and the Earth, both feminine planets, is like divinely magical. So this kind of energy is also represented in tarot by the Death card, which on first kind of glance, you might think, oh, that's not very nice. And actually, what it means is death is seeing your truth. And I'm telling you that now because it's relevant to what I'm just about to say. So this kind of energy of October, tomorrow we have this new moon in Libra with a solar eclipse. Now, a solar eclipse is when the moon just literally gets in the way of the sun and the earth. So it looks like it's covering it, which in fact it is. A new moon represents earth. It's kind of the lack of, it's like the shadow side, the mystery, the kind of side of yourself which you don't show other people. And then with this solar eclipse behind it, it's shining a light on all of your kind of shadows and things you have left to work with. But the new moon means it's kind of a new season, a new beginning, new energy. The fact that it's fallen in Libra, Libra is the planet for justice, truth, balance, harmony, diplomacy. So it's kind of like asking you to look at yourself in all of your truth and look at yourself with the logical air balancing view of Libra, to look at your traumas and, find the teacher, the lesson in it, rather than the kind of getting caught up in the emotions of it and taking ownership of it. And then once you do that, we know that these things, we can drop them, they can move away from us. But anything that we don't accept and we don't work with stays with us, and we stay in a loop. So really big stuff going on. And Mercury is there giving us a way to kind of communicate with clarity the issues, the trauma, the things that are coming up. So if you're feeling, as there's opposition in Chiron and Aries, if you're feeling a bit brittle or a bit kind of triggered at the moment, similar patterns are playing out, it's literally for you to look at them. It's very much of the time. It's not easy to do this work on self, but it's absolutely imperative in order to move forward. And so it's Ivy, the full moon, the moon phase that we're under. And the Ivy moon is divine feminine. And if we think about Ivy grows into places which other plants can't get to. So it's quite comfortable in the dark. It grows in a spiral, which represents a spiral of life, death, and rebirth. And wherever it grows in a really supportive way. So it's holding those trees up to prolong their life. So under this moon, there's an invitation to kind of delve deeply within the self and to pull on the power of Ivy to feel kind of that you are supported, you can support yourself, you can move through this. There's always a way through. So that is the general picture with this particular one. I'll talk about the lunar eclipse at the end of the month when we get to the end of the month and we do our next show, and we'll talk about Samhain, the harvesting of the souls. But you may feel time is sped up. I certainly do. I feel like everything's kind of suddenly rushing at this end of the week. That's just kind of what's going on. There's a sense of urgency around things. It's like, oh my God, what's going on? Can I squeeze any more stuff in here? or in your case, Tamar, frustration that you can't do all the things you want to do because COVID's gone, there you shall sit. And it might be that COVID's done that for you so that you have to have head time and, go into your body and, have this rest and restoration period, because that's ultimately what illness is. It's an invitation for rest and restoration, so that you can make the most of these kind of inward journeys that need to take place in order to kind of come out. There's also a caveat of making sure that anything that you wish to bring into fruition can come now, with one last kind of chance to put last minute projects into play before we go on to the Samhain shutdown, after Samhain, 1st of November, kind of winter period where we're supposed to be resting, etc. So the only other thing I can add is Nessus to this. Nessus is something, and then I'll shut up. Nessus is something that is an asteroid that sits in the birth charts, and it tells us what ancestral karma we have in our chart that we are in this lifetime to clear. And it's not necessarily associated to your past lives, it's associated to your ancestral chain, because one presumes that one's connected to all the family that you've come from, the family line, but you might be genetically, but you might not be spiritually, if you can get your head around that. So the Nessus is, you look at the placement, the house it's in, and you look at the zodiac it's in to get a true understanding, and it's really insightful about understanding which karmic patterns you need to help move through in this lifetime. And I'm offering people readings on that, should that be of interest. Just get in touch with me. So that is the astrology. A lot going on, isn't there?
Busy. So to clarify a little bit on what you just said, are you saying that our physical body may have a DNA line, but our spiritual essence may be connected to a completely different line? Interesting.
Or not even from here.
Okay. So talking about going within, you're going to talk to us today about leaky gut. Tell me what a leaky gut is and how one may heal from it.
Okay, a leaky gut. Well, we have a epithelium, and Phillipa, you probably know a lot about this as well, I'm presuming. Well, you know all about bodies. The epithelium, within our gut, we have a wall that's 1 cell thick. And this wall is really tightly packed together like that, for instance, but it's only 1 cell thick. So it's called the epithelium, and it's very, very kind of important. And its integrity is absolutely paramount. And what happens when you get leaky gut is the fact that those tight junctions separate. And so as food passes through the intestines, it leaks into the blood supply, making people feel tired, ill, causing inflammation around the body, headaches, all kinds of things. So that is what leaky gut syndrome is, and it's very common.
And you've recently healed from it was it a matter of months, couple of months you've done that?
It can take a long time to heal from it, yes. And I've had it for a while, a long while. And I recently, I don't know if I said this last time, I had some electromagnetic testing done, which is where they fire certain frequencies into your system, and your immune system gives a response, and it gives very finite, granular detail about what you can and can't eat. So I've been managing my diet for over 25 years. And after I had this testing done, discovered that I was eating things like garlic and rosemary and bay leaves, which I was eating a lot of with all my healthy food, which was literally like cutting yourself off at the knees. So it was like I couldn't heal my leaky gut because I had all of this kind of other food that I was eating in on top of it. So after I had the testing done, and it gives you healing at the same time, I cut these things out of my diet and took a whole range of supplements, which helped to clear up the system and create a system that was so clean, like so oxygenated, that bacteria couldn't continue to thrive, negative bacteria, without harming the good bacteria. Because quite often with these things, you're encouraged to take, if you've got SIBO or any kind of gut issues, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, antibiotics. And antibiotics just literally wash the baby out with the bathwater. And so it's like, how do we find more natural solutions to maintain the forest in there, but just cut down some of the kind of nasties?
So is it specific, like an individual thing, what you need to cut out of your diet, or is there like an agreed set of this is stuff you shouldn't be having? It's all individual. So you sharing yours isn't going to help anyone else on the call, is it? Okay.
Sorry.
But what we're saying is there are foods that are helpful to you and foods that are unhelpful to you, and you need to understand which are unhelpful so your gut has a chance to heal.
And what on the face of it looks like it should be healthy, like garlic, rosemary, and bay, could actually be really problematic. Now, you try and find food in this country without garlic in it, good luck.
Yeah.
Literally all processed food has garlic in it. And that is because they know that it is a flavorer that will cover other flavors. And everyone thinks, oh, it's got garlic in it, it's slightly healthy. Whereas garlic is actually, you know, it's really hardcore. Now, this doesn't mean that I can't eat garlic again, because once you heal yourself, you can reintroduce things. You've just got to be careful. Funnily enough, from being an absolute garlic addict, I'm now a bit scared of garlic. So I'm not so keen to rush back because I don't want the same problems I had before.
Mm.
Well, I mean, this is always the thing that happens when you start excluding things from your diet, and so this is a journey that I've been on for many years also, with digestive issues that have plagued me from childhood, actually, and what I found with the passage of time is, and particularly because of menopause, things just really were getting so much worse. And the biggest symptom for me, pain, bloating, gas, farting, wind. Oh my gosh, just absolute and utter agony. And so I've done all these different approaches, which have involved excluding certain things from your diet. And garlic is definitely something that I know is a trigger for me. And just like Claire said, you have real difficulty going anywhere, eating out anywhere, finding foods that are, off the shelf that don't have garlic in, as like she said, as to disguise the fact that everything else doesn't actually taste of anything. So it's really hard. I went, where do I go? You go to your Thai restaurant, your Chinese restaurant, your Indian restaurant. Have you got anything without garlic? It's quite a novel sort of inquiry, isn't it? But there's no doubt the onion family, the garlic bulb, it really just does no favors for me. But a bit, like Claire's saying, that the idea is that you have a period of eliminating things from your diet to allow the gut to heal and for the membranes to become impervious yet again. And then, gradually over time, you reintroduce these things. So you would usually, the rule is you introduce things one at once, and you introduce them in small amounts and not every day. So you're not going mad with it. Maybe once or twice a week or something like that, allowing plenty of time in between so that your body can give you the clues whether or not it's bothering you at all. And so I've ended up in this situation where there's so many things that bother me that, I'm on a really restrictive diet, which is ultimately not very conducive to a healthy environment, tissue environment. So I am currently working with a nutritionist. Claire mentioned that she'd had that they call it bioresonance, I think, testing, don't they? And you hold on to different things, don't you? And then you're kind of wired up, and they put this current through you, and that gives readings which give a clue to the kinds of things that agree and disagree with you. And I did do that years ago. I seem to recall, totally forgotten what the results were right now. Maybe garlic was in there. And so what I've done is had stool samples tested, which is very thrilling, obviously. And what was the other thing they did? Well, mainly that, and blood tests as well, I suppose. So then I'm on this path to try and heal, whatever's going on, so that my diet doesn't have to be quite so restricted. But you know, the first thing that we wanted to introduce, the nutritionist suggested, played me up like a fiddle. Next thing you know, I'm blown up like the Hindenburg, and so you just sometimes you feel thwarted at every turn with this gut problem. But anyway, she gave me some advice, and she said, "Okay, forget that one. Don't worry about that. We'll chalk that down to what's the word, experience." And so now I'm on the second step, which just so happens to be probiotic powders that I'm currently trying. And so far, so good is all I'm going to say about that.
Are you on L-glutamine?
Well, that's the next one in the list of supplements. That because like with all these things, we're introducing the supplements one at once, because otherwise you don't know which is helping, which is triggering you. And so that's the next one after this. And the interesting thing for me is this particular prebiotic, yes, is low in FODMAPs. Do you know about FODMAPs, Claire? Will anybody who's been on this journey might have heard of FODMAPs? Fructose, oligosaccharides, disaccharides, and so on. It's a mnemonic. It stands for monosaccharides, etc. And so, you know, this is something that also I've tried, the FODMAP solution, but again, it's just restricting. So, but certainly, FODMAPs definitely play me like a fiddle too. And so in these tests, I'm going on. In these tests, the stool tests, it showed the gram-negative. I've got too many gram-negative bacteria. Those are the negative bacteria that Claire's talking about. My good bacteria seem to be quite healthy and all, you know, current and correct. But the gram-negative crew have taken residence, and there's just too many of them and too many varieties. Apparently 3 gram-negative varieties is probably okay. We could cope with that, you know, the yin and the yang, I suppose we could call it. But I had 6 varieties and quite large numbers. So who knows how long they've been there, these critters? You don't know, do you?
No, but that's where the Oxytec is, this supplement I take, which my nutritionist put me on, which is basically creating this environment just to clear them out. So supplements like that are quite useful. And parasite cleansers as well. I'm on a parasite cleanse for a month.
I didn't have any parasites. Did they find some, Claire, in yours?
The testing that I had was, this guy had a £15,000 piece of kit, and it could tell you also, because this is the other part of any ailments in this area of the body, it could tell you past life stuff, chakra stuff, and kind of the whole picture. So you didn't just get, you can't eat this. It was like, this is the trauma in that section. This is, you know, the negative thought process that you're telling yourself. This is the solution. These are the words, the mantra you should be repeating to yourself to kind of overcome that. So it treated you on all of these different levels. And then it makes a medicine for you with all the frequencies in it that are specific to your particular ailment. So I think that was really, really powerful. So I wanted to say that don't overlook, when you're doing all the work, the physical work, the need for the kind of spiritual and emotional work about this kind of part of our bodies. This is the sacral chakra that we're talking about. Solar plexus and sacral chakra is our guts, right? So we're talking about shit. This is where we hold our shit. Top bit is where we think about how we feel about ourselves, and then the bottom bit is how we kind of interact with the world at large. So if we're all in professions which is helping other people. So all of us, when we work with people, we're listening to them, we're working on their physical bodies. You know, I'm sure, Phillipa, when you're working on the physical body, it bleeds into the emotional body as well, because exactly. And then as healers, we take that into the sacral chakra to kind of process on behalf of these people. And so if we're not practicing spiritual hygiene, this area means it can get filled up with other people's stuff as well, which can manifest as a kind of, especially if it's negative, to feed that kind of negative bacteria within you with other people's kind of shadow energy. And that does happen. So it's kind of like, how do you, it's like that concept of love conquers all, because if you shine the light of love out, it literally is so bright that nothing else can kind of come in its wake. And I know it's about balance, but if you create this environment within that is so bright, then, and safe with boundaries, then it's harder for you to be kind of infiltrated by the others.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I have this sort of illustrated because I was thinking, I hadn't, to be honest, I know about sort of taking on the emotional piece when you deal with people's issues and trauma and whatever, the physical body being a sort of reflection of what's going on in your inside your head very often. And so I was listening to this great audio book, and I'm not going to credit the author because they've got enough success and fame, actually. But basically, they were talking about sourdough bread, everybody. Apparently, every year there's this competition, and you know, the best bakers go and they take the sourdough, and then there's a prize at the end of it, I suppose. So what was curious to discover when they were analysing the microbes in the bread, they were not all the same. So you start off with a culture which theoretically, hypothetically is the same, but then fascinatingly, the microbes in the bread were kind of a reflection of what was carried on the skin of the maker of the bread. So all of these breads were unique to the individual that was making them, and the microbes therein were different, and that was therefore affecting the taste and the flavor. And I suppose you might actually have a personal preference, mightn't you? For so some things taste fabulous to some people and other people can't stand them, and that's probably the microbes at it as well, isn't it? But that made me think of me touching people, thousands and thousands of people, in a good way, I hasten to add.
Don't call the police.
Over the years. Yeah, don't call the police. No, please. So, you know, and this transference of microbes, so fascinating. I mean, my mind was officially blown at that point when I thought of this. So, you know, this we talk about, you know, you're talking about trauma, you're talking about past lives, you're talking about, you know, just being with other people affecting our gut, the gut of the receiver, if you like. And, you know, for some people, that's stretching the envelope a bit, isn't it? But the more that I study and listen and think about these things, the more science is starting to show that, you know, the survivors, say, of the Holocaust, family trauma is sort of passed through the family line without them ever experiencing this trauma. There are some things that are starting to be more understood, and the microbes just spoke to me, and I thought, well, I must have picked up these gram-negative bacteria somewhere along the journey of life. So yeah, fascinating though, eh?
It is, yeah. And if you could use a kind of I would suggest for that, you making up a you've got thyme oil, haven't you? You make up
Yeah, no, I do.
So if you make up a hand sanitizer with thyme oil, aloe vera, and olive oil, and you mix those together, then you've got a beautiful hand sanitizer, which not only smells amazing, but is going to give you that protection, and it will also work with you on a spiritual and emotional level as well. So you'll get a bit of a, or even on guard. But it's that thing of just like remembering skin is like this membrane, this permeable membrane absorbing in like information and microbes and everything else. So we are just we're a host, aren't we, for all these million microscopic microbes. So it's kind of like you making your world as kind of beautiful as it can be is ultimately what we're after.
Well, what about you, Tamar? Because I mean, I know that you mentioned that digestive troubles is something that you have, you know, issues with. Is that? I mean, I know you've got COVID at the minute, but
You want to talk about her shit today?
I should say, I've barely eaten for a week, so not much is going on. But recently recently I made a colon repair tea, which I credit to Barbara O'Neill, who I'm really into the natural healing stuff. And it was just 3 different herbs. I've got it here in case anyone wants to know about it. So it was buckthorn bark, cascara bark, and licorice root. So equal parts of each. I just bought a bag of each, put equal parts into a jar, and take 1 teaspoon into a tea strainer, put it and steep it in boiling water for 15 minutes. Put a plate or something on top. Keep it hot because it's not nice cold. It's not great hot, but it's not nice cold. And just have 1 cup at night. Now they did say have 3 cups a day to start with. Don't have 3 cups a day. Promise me you don't want 3 cups a day. 1 cup at night. And I just did that for about a week and a half maybe, and haven't had any. And things just kind of naturally, it's done something, it's healed something. I'm going to go back and do another set, I think, because things are moving much more than they used to. Things were quite slow in that department, shall we say.
Okay, sluggish.
But things, it just kind of happens like sometimes every day, sometimes every other day. And for me, that was never a thing. It was like once a week if I was lucky. So that tea, I highly recommend anyone to try who has a slow gut. And I thought I might try it again because I wondered if it might, because it was also supposed to help with parasites. And I thought it might help remove some of this COVID as well, because we're talking about natural healing. The only thing I've had this week is, and it had garlic in it, it's fermented honey and garlic, which is anti-inflammatory, antibacterial. But you've just been saying about how garlic isn't always the best thing. Dang.
No, but
well, no, not for
you.
Yeah, it might be fine for you.
It might help with that, but it won't be helping my gut, perhaps. So
well, no.
It's on something to get rid of this just tail end of this, because I need this to go now. I'm a busy person. I want to leave the house. Any ideas?
Well, I would say that definitely it sounds to me like you've intuited that the tea would be helpful to you. So I would always say act on your intuition. So if you're sensing that basically that could be, that's basically come into your mind, that's your intuition. So act on it. Do you mean when you said you had 3 cups, it created a roller coaster of reaction? Is that what you're talking about?
Things progressed very quickly and dramatically.
Right.
The advice was this person had 3 cups a day, and then went down to 2 cups a day, and then 1 cup a day. They didn't see how long each of those sets were. And then they never had the tea again, and everything was perfect. So the first day I had 3 cups. It was an interesting night, shall we say. That was too much too soon. I really don't recommend it. I'd stick to 1 cup a night, and then things gently heal and gently move through, would be my lived experience of this.
And I guess, and it's down to whether you're one of those people that wants it all overdone quickly, or whether you want to, take it gradually. But the energy of feminine is to take it slowly and carefully and gently, and not push yourself into kind of a size, 8, because you're going to lose weight if you speed up your metabolism, without a doubt.
So that's the theory. Haven't seen it yet, but my diet's not great. And I'll put my hands up to that.
Well, you know that, Tamar, so no one else could tell you anything about that. So that's your personal choice. And as Phillipa is saying, it's so boring having to cut things out of your diet left, right, and center. And people were saying to me, can't you just have a little bit of garlic? Can't you just have a little bit of this, a little bit of that? And it was like, no, can't you just understand that I want to heal my gut? Then we can have that conversation, but stop giving me a hard time, because you're embarrassed to be out with me asking for, like, well, I spend half an hour with a waiter before I can place an order. It's like, I don't care. This is the world I live in, and as I say, I've been managing my gut for 25 years, which was also so interesting, is knowing as much as I do about nutrition, still having things to find out. And finding out that some of my bedrocks were actually my underpinning. So it's like, whoa, okay. So that's quite interesting. And it really is a case of just, acknowledging you shouldn't need to be constipated. You shouldn't have diarrhea, and you shouldn't have shed loads of wind. and things like that. And you shouldn't be tired after meals, and you shouldn't be extra hungry after meals. Sometimes when you eat things which are wrong for you, you can get this kind of horrible hunger that comes up because the body's going, get it out, get it out. It's like the body's got all these different ways of dealing with things. Certain things can make you get sticky poos. Have you guys ever had that, where actually it hurts more to do a poo than it does to have not done one? It's like a sticky thing where it's just like it can't. Oh God, I think I've gone through every single
Okay.
species that you could possibly have on that list, that kind of chart they have.
Oh yeah. Rabbit droppings is always my favorite picture.
Have you had rabbit droppings? Yes, I have actually.
So, well, I tell you what, Tamar, you were, it's quite topical, really, this talk of COVID, isn't it, at the moment? Because it is all around us at the moment. Lots of people are experiencing this new variation that's going to keep changing and keep us on our toes. And currently, I have the husband in the other room that way, coughing like I don't know what. So it's absolutely killing him, the fact that he can't sleep because he's coughing, and then you can't recover because you haven't slept, and what an absolute shambles that is. So I give him all my current, as much as I can, advice about inhalation, steam inhalation, and what else? Well, mainly that.
It depends where it's sitting in your body, isn't it? Because at first mine was all full body ache, so all you can do is rest. Then it moved to throat, so I was treated throat. Now it's all nose, so
is it sinus?
on blowing. So it's sitting in your body.
That is, and it does manifest differently, doesn't it? And then we are, the virus is what you're trying to get rid of, but its secondary symptoms is the thing you're talking about, really. The body aches, the sore throat, the coughing, and each of us is going to experience that differently depending on our, like Claire's saying, our past lives may have something to do with that. Our previous traumas may have something to do with that, and our I just always think, I know that Martin's dad was a smoker and would have an ashtray on the hand, like on the arm of the chair, and the kids would be around this cigarette smoke, and so that always makes me think this is why forever he's always been a coffee sort whenever he gets a cold, but since he had COVID for the first time, it's just seems to be so ridiculously bad, the coughing weeks, and just cannot shift it. So Claire, help.
Okay, so I've got a Rife machine which you may or may not want to invest in. You might actually want to invest in this, Phillipa, as you do
what machine
and stuff. Joseph Rife, around in the 20s, developed this electromagnetic machine, and it has about, I think it's ridiculous, like 1,000 different codes that you can put into it, one for every occasion. And you wear it, and it's literally, you wear it on your palms or on your feet, or you can wear it around the body or around the head, depending on what level of kit you're going for, and it will send in a healing frequency. So I've been doing that. I've done that on both my children this week, because COVID, as you say, is rife everywhere, and I can report it's literally across the world as well, because I'm speaking to people from countries have got it, and it stopped it in its tracks for them, more or less. And I've had to keep doing, because it's got a comprehensive virus frequency, so I've had to keep doing that on myself as well, because I'm just like, I don't want to go down that track. But for your husband's kind of continual coughing, then the thing that came into my mind was infrared sauna. Now, if he's not testing positive, then you could probably see if you can get him to a local infrared sauna, because what you want to do with infrared sauna is it goes right deep down into the cells and releases the toxins from that level, because it feels like it's kind of it's the lungs are trying to get it out. It's gone quite deep, and that's why this kind of perpetual, maybe it's sitting in the throat, I don't know, but doing that would be helpful. In terms of clearing the system, thyme tea with fresh thyme is incredibly good. In terms of getting sleep at night, deep, restful sleep, if you don't have a Rife machine and you're normal, hot, salty baths with Epsom salts before sleep, a diffuser going while sleeping with the lemon, peppermint, thyme, etc., to try and keep the atmosphere not too dry, but slightly moist and carry those essential oils deeply. But when it gets like that, Cavonia Night Nurse, anything that just has something in it, using the best of the West to kind of knock you, because you can find that if you just get one night's sleep, then you can kind of get on top of it, but it's all the little breaking parts that are just like, I can't do this anymore. I've been using 5-HTP recently with a lot of success. So that's a pill you can get, a supplement you can get from probably even sell it in Boots. So that might be something that's worth considering if you still want to stay natural. But it's this, isn't it? That's what's going on. It's the body trying to...
The irritant, yeah.
And so it's mucus plants. So plants with lots of mucus. So if you're feeding him things, soups with courgette in, and things that are really going to help to kind of mushrooms, courgette, like bone broths, things like that, with those kind of ingredients in to really kind of help recreate the lining. And of course, massive doses of vitamin C and zinc, which men like the fizzy pills.
Yeah, he does. It's funny that, because I don't, but he does, yeah.
So if you just make him have those constantly, then obviously interspersed with water to give the kidneys a break, then that might be helpful. But it is, it's difficult, because again, like anything, it's like what's going to work for you. I'll tell you what you could do, Philippa, if you're feeling particularly witchy, is go out and get some rose hips, because there's a bumpy year for berries here. So go and collect loads of rose hips and put them into a cauldron, as in a saucepan, cover them with water, bring them to boil, leave them overnight with the lid on, and then the next day drain off the liquid and add the same amount of sugar. And then you've made a syrup. Then give him the rose hip syrup. Then that would be, so infrared sauna, rose hip syrup, 5-HTP, diffuser.
Okay, well, I remember that rosehip syrup when I was a kid. It was the best stuff ever, wasn't it? So, Tamar, your sinuses blocked up. Is that what you're saying? Well, I had a client this week, and he came in with his foggy head he was telling me about. So, have you done the massage on the sinuses, Tamar?
Do that.
So I do like the gua sha stone thingy.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, but I haven't been doing it just because I was concerned I was just going to move the infection somewhere else. I kind of want to get it rather than moving. No, Claire, no.
I think
down towards the heart to help get it out.
Okay.
You want to mobilize that. Sorry?
Sinus movements, please.
Well, you just have to think where the sinuses are in the skull, and there's a very obvious one above the eyebrow, and then below the eye going outwards. I did put this on my YouTube channel because I got COVID last Christmas. Yeah, down the jawbone as well. Yeah. And then behind the ears, you can, if your ears are a bit blocked up, you can use I say you can use a sort of a menthol type rub, but just you always have to be really careful not to get it anywhere near your eyes. And so the thing is, with infection, there's kind of a difference. If you're just snotty and it's clear, then it's not infected. If it's yellow, as a general rule, it's infected. But it's transient. It's not like you're going to it's going to stay that way. And actually, better to get it out than keep it in. And then if it's green, dark green, then we know we call that old infected. So it's, we want to get rid of it. If it's yellow, green, get it out. If in doubt, spit it out. That's what I told. If you manage to cough anything up, spit it out. So you know, poor old physios training, you have to do respiratory training and all of the pediatrics and obs and gynae and all the different disciplines. And so I did, you know, I did do this many moons ago when I was a young physio. And so coughing, teaching breathing exercises, you know, I've got him doing all that sort of stuff. But the coughing is the irritant of the, like Claire says, the mucus is irritating and you can't stop coughing. So we'll see what I'm going to do, what you've suggested. And I would heartily recommend massage. The other thing is getting your head down, you know, think of gravity. You want to sort of drain it. You might find if you get in a head down posture, you've done some of this, it's loosened it up, and then you might find you need to blow your nose, say, and you can blow some of it out. And lots and lots of clear fluids, isn't it, Claire? Nice hot teas, plenty of clear fluids, not tea, no dairy.
Vodka.
Well,
Not vodka or gin.
definitely.
It's fine.
Right,
Gin,
listen,
fine,
Tamar.
no
No,
dairy.
it's not.
They're
There's
clear.
no gin. Don't drink alcohol when your immune system's compromised. You know that. And I always say to Martin, if he's got the slightest thing brewing, don't you dare have a drink of anything, you dare, because it's just going to tip you over. Have a night out and you're bound to get tipped over into symptoms. So anyway, that's me on my bandwagon.
Does he listen, Phillipa?
Mostly. Well, because he really doesn't want to be sick. So no, you know, nobody really wants to be sick, do they? Once you're sick, once you've succumbed, you know, we do have difficulty expediting this healing process, but what we can do is optimize it so that it doesn't live any longer than it really has to. That's kind of what I would say. You know, so I maybe have a go at doing some of that, Tamar.
Okay, I should give it a try. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, that's it.
Anything anyone else wants to add based on today's talking points before we end for the day?
No, I think
Oh,
I think what about you know, just the idea that individualized approaches is what we advocate, and so we give advice about things that work for us, and the hope is that none of it's harmful, you know, for the most part. You're not going to do yourself harm if you don't eat garlic and drink whatever sort of tea. Well, although having said that, Tamar's tea sounded like a bit
1 cup.
just 1 cup, which she's made that very clear. 1 cup. And you know, Claire's machine, I'm going to come round, Claire, and you can strap me up to that because I really want to try that. But intuitive, you know, Claire said that, didn't she, to you, Tamar? You've intuited, and if we can really just tune into our inner kind of wisdom and think, does this feel like it's doing me good or not? Generally, I always think if it feels like it's doing you good, for the most part, it probably is. What do you say, Claire, to that?
oh yeah. Your body will tell you whether things feel good, but you have to notice, like, it's not just the mind feeling good, because the mind has quite a lot of control and will tell you that yes, you want to carry on eating that because or the sensation of the tongue, the food on the tongue, it's like, oh, that feels so good. And all the meanwhile, the liver's going, what the hell are you doing? So, you know, there has to be, we do need to build a greater relationship with our body. I'm going to go off and have a flexible sigmoidoscopy on Saturday.
Sigmoidoscopy, nasty.
I've got
nice.
Some
Sounds
beautiful.
invasive.
This has got to go up there, enema, 2 hours beforehand, and then they're going to stick this camera on my backside. That's just because I
Is that
love
on the NHS, Claire? Curious.
it is on the NHS, Phillipa.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of a ticket to ride. No, I keep having spontaneous bleeds out of my backside. So
no.
I want to discover, and it's not a full colonoscopy. I want to just discover what it is. What I sense it is, because I have Ehlers-Danlos, is the tissue is so fragile that occasionally I have spontaneous bleeds. I think that's what it is, or it could be polyps. But we'll see. So that's my Sunday morning taken care of, being pumped full of gas and having a camera shoved up my backside. I will be allowed to have gas and air. So I probably will be availing myself of gas and air, because I'm like not very keen on anything going up my bottom. So
no. Well, we're good. You're doing absolutely the right thing. To anybody experiencing, any sort of loss of blood from the rectum, it's really important to go to your doctor. Don't sit on it. Oh, excuse the pun. Oh, sorry. Get straight down there. Don't mess about. And then the wonderful NHS does take care of you under those circumstances pretty well, doesn't it, Claire? And she's going on Sunday now.
it's been really quick. Yeah, no, it's been really quick, because bowel cancer's in the ether, like, so they're all a bit conscious of how many people are popping off with that. What were you saying, Tamar? You looked incredibly cheeky just then. What did you say?
On that note,
On that bottom shell.
on that bombshell, should have been bombshell down.
No, bottom shell.
Bottom shell. We look forward to an update on the next session on how that went. Because I'm thinking around demystifying that, because a lot of people don't like being messed around with down there. So if we can demystify and go, actually, it was uncomfortable for a minute, but now I know this thing, perhaps we can sort of help some of the collective watching maybe to be brave and do that themselves.
Absolutely. Taking one for the team.
Amazing. Thank you so much, ladies. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. Incredibly informative as always. And we will see you all at the next one.
All right. Bless up, everyone. Take care.
Take care.